Thank you for taking a minute to join us today for our Arbor Advisory Council podcast. And for those of you that don't remember, the Arbor Advisory Council is comprised of our top unit and volume producers from the previous year. And so the year after they get to that, hit that mark is when we're going to kind of start rolling through this podcast and diving into kind of their best practices and the things that they're doing on a daily basis that they're using to kind of win more loans and create more opportunities in the market. So Josh Lemos, who we have today, he had a great year in 2022. And so now I think he did close to, over 40 million. And 2022 was a really challenging market, and he's still doing a large chunk of volume today. And so I think he's going to be a really great resource for all of us at Arbor, especially for our loan officers that are here on the podcast, to kind of just get some really good tidbits on how to structure your business and maybe some things that could help you get that 1, 2, 3 more deals. So Josh, can you just give us, start off by giving us a quick background on yourself about how you got in the business and how long you've been doing it?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. So I've been in the business since 2002. And I don't know, about February 2002, I met with a very salty mentor of mine. And I said, if you were my age and had my skill set, what would you do? And he said, I'd kill myself. So, okay, great. So aside from that, he goes, well, I'd go in the mortgage business. Those guys are making 50, 100 grand a month. I was like, that's great. So I ended up being an assistant to a gal in the business for 2 years. And she did a lot of volume, 50 to 100 loans a month. It was a refinance market, but 100 loans a month. So I kind of got trained in an environment where it wasn't uncommon to see loan officers doing 20, 30, 50 loans a month, doing 20 million a month. So I trained in a very big environment, which I think has assisted me throughout my career. And after being her assistant for 2 years, I went on my own, and then I kind of jumped back into partnering with her, and went to not too many different mortgage companies. I think I've only been at 3. And then in 2019, John Goodpasture reached out to me and said, "Hey, why don't you give Arbor a shot?" And that was the sun shining down on me after being in the mortgage banking world, where I'm on a 350 basis point rate sheet and have no support. And so that was a game changer in 2019. And I thank John for that still.
Nice, man. And so 2019, you get over to Arbor. We're still having obviously a pretty good, that's when the run starts, right? I mean, that's right before we're kind of about, I think COVID hits in March, January of 2020, right? And then March of 2020, we start seeing rates come down. I think we all kind of had a great run through then, but if we fast forward to kind of November 2021, at the end of 2021, then we're moving into 2022, the market is completely different, right? The party's over, rates are moving from 2.5 to like 3.5. What were you doing in 2022? Obviously, you were still able to carve out 40 million, which is great. And maybe walk us through kind of that transition for you and how you were able to continue to stay successful in a rising rate environment.
Focusing on purchases, obviously, because that's where the business is. Being really aggressive when I had to against builder deals and still trying to win those deals. Building those relationships with my realtors and, with my clients. It's the realtor referral business is great, but your clients are an equally great source. They have friends who are also buying properties. And when you're working with them, I think it was always instrumental to my success to say to that client, who of your friends have you been talking to that also is looking to purchase a house? Or who of your coworkers have you been talking to that's also looking to purchase a house? So focusing not just on referrals from realtors, but also talking to the clients and having your client become a referral source for you, not just a realtor.
That's an interesting take, right? And I hope that the people that are on the call are taking that in, right? Because I do think that traditionally loan officers, especially when the market shifts to a purchase market, right? They're like, where do I go to get purchases, right? And their default is to go out and I need to start calling realtors, right? Whereas, and a lot of times it seems like they might even be going out and starting to try and build like cold relationships with realtors, whereas you are saying, hey, look, go and really leverage your past clients, right? Because, and one, they know a lot of people that could be thinking, they could be listening for you, but they're also past clients, right? So they also trust you. You've already overcome the barrier of trust, and that's like a super warm lead. And so that's happening in 2022. Obviously, things are getting tougher in 2023. Are there things now with how much more difficult that the market's getting that you're starting to have to grind into or tap into to kind of keep yourself focused?
You know, I think mindset is really important. To focus on the positive is important, and even more important is to avoid thinking about the negatives. And I think the best way that I avoid thinking about the negatives is I focus on the long game. So, you know, if you just look at like the next month or this month, you know, the last 3 weeks, it's pretty, you get pretty down. But if you can kind of see, okay, this is a long game. This is not going to be the market forever. What one thing can I do that's going to help me in a year, or, you know, when rates do start coming down? So really keeping that long perspective. And I think having been through 2008 and 9, through 2013, through, you know, different markets, this market that we're in again, where you just have that roller coaster of up and down, that has helped me to stay focused on that long game and not just look at the immediate, you know, what is today, but, you know, look at, you know, a year from now, and what, you know, even when I have a client who buys in a new construction, and I can't even compete with that because the builder's offering 599 with a lend, you know, like you can't touch it. But that is a future client. Everybody in their community is a future client. You know, it's about making sure that I am playing that long game and saying, hey, let me get a copy of your mortgage statement. When you move in with your new neighbors, I know you can't refer me any of them because they're a good rate, but ask them to send me a copy of their mortgage statement so I can keep that in my database. And that way in the future, I've got, you know, I'm building for the future. So when you're not, you know, if you're not closing 4 or 5 deals a month in this market, if you're closing 1 or 2, what are you doing that's going to put you in a position to close 6 to 10 deals when it does get better?
That is such a great point. And I actually think and it takes some drive, and it, you know, for everybody to connect the dots out there, right? To sit there and be like, so you lose a loan, right? And because you've got a builder that's got, you know, the design incentives, or they're buying down the rate to 5.99. But we know, but the cool part about what you're saying is, right, because you've been doing it for so long, you know that you are going to be so much quicker on the draw when this market turns, right? The builder-owned mortgage companies, or whoever they are, they're just focused on purchase and the customer satisfaction on the builder side. They could care less about the refinance, right? And they're going to be so slow on the uptick. But if you can start building out your database today and say, hey, I know there's a new community going off downstream, and I know that they're going in at 5.99. If I can start getting the contacts of the people in that community that, yeah, I didn't do their loan, but I know that the people that did their loan are not nearly as adept at getting in there when rates drop. And that's how you're kind of building, you know, again, I equate it to like your comment on the long game is, it's like we're all planting seeds in the field right now that we need to that are for a future harvest, right? And I think to your point, like if you really want to have a good visual of what you're doing on a daily basis, it's like, how many seeds are you planting in the field today that you're going to be able to harvest a year or 2 from now? And how do you even find the seeds? And almost like to what you're saying in terms of, you know, going out to like builder communities that are really leveraging past clients or even lost clients to get their information, it's still a seed, right? Because, and of course you have to have that in your database, and you got to be diligent and obviously have the correct data. But if you do that, and that data is planted as a seed, then you know you can harvest it downstream. That's a great kernel that I hope people on this podcast are going to take to heart and help you not get demoralized with rates going up, because the seeds are all around you, right? Where else are you? I mean, staying on that kind of same thought, and maybe I think you had touched on this a little bit in terms of working past clients. How do you work past clients to get seeds? Just to kind of keep going down that thread.
You know, like I had 3 clients whose birthdays were today, and you can reach out and you can say happy birthday, and maybe they'll reply, maybe they won't. I go in and I say, happy birthday. You closed a $655,000 loan at 2.99%. If you were to close that loan today, it'd be 7.5%, and you could borrow $220,000 less. How's that for a birthday present? It engages them. You're kind of offering something that gets them to think about things. And then when they reply, you can say, again, it's always asking for referrals. On my computer, I have a sticky note that says ask for referrals, and I forget. And I still, I need to remind myself constantly. When that client reaches back out to you, again, there's the interaction. Hey, that's awesome. Are there any, any new people, any of your employees that are looking to buy? I mean, it's about asking it's about asking those clients for referrals, or even, you can even say, or do you know anybody who's looking to sell? Maybe
that's kind of what
I can help give my realtor a listing.
Yeah, because almost for people out there on the podcast, right? If you have like a pen and a piece of paper, right? And so, Josh, I know I haven't done this before, but I really, from what you're saying, because I truly believe that I think loan officers out there that are, we're out grinding. It's almost like they need to write down those 1, 2, or 3 almost scripts, right? I think right now this is a game of scripting where, because it's hard for people out there to know what to say, one, to get motivated to say it, and then even to know what to say. So you're calling somebody for, let's call it a past client or a birthday. What? Just give us like 1, 2, or 3 scripts that you're using asking for a referral.
We got you a great rate on your loan. You were really happy. You gave me a great Zillow review. Do you, just simply asking, do you know anybody? Has anybody you've talked to been looking to buy a home that
It's simple as that.
As simple as that. Yeah. So
you're going through, and so if I was going to just like encapsulate it into a hook, you're saying, hey, there's a front end lead in of like, hey, like this is how we know each other. There's a soft intro, and then it's going to be, do you know anybody that might be looking to buy a home, second home investment property kind of deal?
Yeah. I give them a little piece of value. Like, we did your loan and you're at 2.75 and this is what it looks like now. So it kind of piques their interest, as opposed to happy birthday, they're getting a bunch of those. They may not respond, but when you give them something like, oh, wow, I'm saving, look at it, you have them appreciate the position that they're in, and that lead in, I think that, you've given them something of value right there. And then from there, I then kind of use that as my lead in to say, hey, any of your coworkers looking to buy a home that you've talked to, or family, anybody that I can reach out to. So just, it was just kind of going over how I use I give something of value, something of interest. And then I, use that as kind of my icebreaker, even though there's a warm conversation. Yeah. And then I lead in with that, like, hey, who do you know? Who do you know that, maybe is thinking of buying or moving? Can I get their information? Can you introduce me to them?
I love that. And how, so like moving off of the kind of the referral ask piece, are you, do you go out there and are you working a specific product at all? Like kind of if we, in terms of like niches and things like that, I mean, do you find like angles or niches when you are, let's say like a new product comes out? I think you actually sent out to everybody that we're doing the 5% down now on units. But like, are there specific product niches that you have keyed into at Arbor and in this market that you're looking to push out and drive that are helping you?
So most of my focus is I'm licensed in California and Colorado, and I have a lot of clients in California, just past clients from when I used to live out there. But my focus still is mostly in Colorado. And Colorado is mostly conforming loans, which is great because that's where we're super competitive and we can always compete on those loans. So I do focus on those. I also, anytime I lose a loan, I make sure I know why I lost. I make sure I find out, like if they offer a product that I don't know about, I go in and I'll pretend I'm a client and I'll ask questions about that product to the bank. I want to know about it. I want to know about my competitors. That way, when a client said, yeah, I'm talking to such and such credit union about this program, I know that program and I can say, well, here's why it won't work, or here's why it is a good program for you. And if it is the best program for them, I will tell my client that. I'll say, that is a great program. That B of A $25,000 grant that they were doing a while back, like,
yeah,
that's a great program. Do it. Like,
right. Right.
So I stay focused on the conforming Fannie Freddie stuff, FHA, and I'm fortunate. I don't have to go after, I don't have the jumbo market that California has as much.
Got it. And do you have, like, I know we talked about, working past clients, right? But you do work with a decent amount of realtors, is there an angle that you have on working in the real estate side of your business or the realtor side of your business that you think is working better now, or that some angles that you've picked up that are helping you get in front of more realtors?
On the, when you're doing a two-sided transaction and you obviously don't have the listing agent, if they also do a lot of business on the buy side, at the beginning of the transaction, you set yourself up. You start with a conversation because they're going to have a conversation with you. They're willing to take the time to have that conversation, but you set yourself up and you say, hey, if I communicate to you, if I do a great job, if I close on time, and if you're kept informed throughout the process, at the end of this process, can I take you to lunch? Can I take you to coffee? And they're not going to, they want you to close the loan. So they're going to say yes.
I love it.
Now you've, again, planted the seed.
Yep.
This is a shorter term long game, but you planted a seed of, I now have your permission to take you out to lunch, take you out to coffee, to make a call to you, to talk about getting more business. And I did it at the beginning, not at the end. And I set up what I'm going to do in return to earn that right in the beginning, and it lays the foundation for you to go in after to another agent that you have no relationship.
The most important thing of what I think you said there is, well, there's two parts, right? One is you're asking for the appointment, right, while you're still of value, right? So, right, once if the deal's closed, right, there's no value there, or there's no perceived value by the realtor to accept or to say, yeah, let's have lunch. Right. And then I think the most important thing in the lost art of what, people are getting so swept up into passive marketing and like, let's email and let's text and let's make a video of ourselves and send it to somebody and let's make a video of ourselves and put it on social. But they really just need to go out and see somebody face to face. And I do think that, people today are craving face-to-face interaction because they're so swept up with everything else. And I love the fact that not only are you capitalizing in the center of, before the transaction's closed, but you're also making sure that you're getting a face-to-face meeting to where that's where you're going to have the highest ability to build their trust and make a friend. Right. And then ultimately that's what leads to the referral relationship. I wanted to ask you too, like, you were actually the guy that spearheaded our MMI kind of corporate enterprise account. So everybody who's using MMI, you can thank Josh, because Josh is the guy that basically wrangled them up and got our users. Are you using MMI and leveraging it? And is there some tips and tricks that for those people out there that aren't using it or may want to use it, how it's helping you?
So yeah, whenever, I obviously look and see, is this a realtor that's worth spending time with? You've closed one deal in the last 12 months and, no, I'm not going to spend my time with you. I'm still going to do a great job, but I'm not going to make the effort to try to meet with you and waste an hour of my time or whatever. So I certainly use it for that. I use it to see, who is the loan officer that they're doing business with. Are they at a mortgage bank? Because if they're at a mortgage bank, I have a big smile on my face because I know that I'm going to beat them every time. I love it when I see your primary lender is at a mortgage bank. I've got a value add immediately. So I love that. The new thing that I started to look at, and I just started to kind of go through. So I started to look at builders And I'm looking for a very specific builder, not the guy, not the big ones, but the guys who are doing 10, 15 units a year. And do those guys have a preferred lender? And if not, well, there's a good place to call. And there's the MMI actually does a good, you have to sift through the data, but you can get a good list of builders to call that meet that criteria. And the builders are not getting the calls that realtors are getting. And if you can get in with that builder, it's just something I started doing. You've got a great value add. It's a win-win. You're giving the builder something, you're getting something from the builder. It's a win-win.
Love that, man. How are you identifying the builders? Does it have a builder? Is there a feature there to know it's a builder, or how do you do that?
There is you can look up builders. So in addition to realtors and loan officers, you can look up builders. It'll show you where they're building, the states that they're building in. Wow. So, for somebody who's licensed in multiple states, which I'm going to be doing once November comes, so I can, get it for both years. Looking at what states they're licensed in, how many units they're building or closing a year. It'll show of the units they have built, who the lender is. And if you see the same lender on all the units, I'm not going after that guy. If you see multiple lenders, I'm going after that guy. So there is a builder search in MMI.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. I think there is a ton of value there. So one, and again, this is the part that I I love about these podcasts, right? Because ultimately it's understanding like LO strategy from LOs that are already executing at a high level, right? So you have somebody who the concept of knowing who you're targeting before you go target it, right? So if you're doing the market research and to Josh's point, right, he doesn't have time to waste on people that aren't doing business, right? And what I think we all fall into this trap every so often, it's like, okay, I'm going to go out and call a bunch of realtors. And if you don't have the data, let's say you don't have MMI and you don't know how much volume that person does, it's just a waste of time, right? It's not targeting it's not your highest and best use of that hour or 2 hours of time. So, it's invest in the data to do your homework. And to the point where you take that to the next level is going and saying, okay, now I see people that are doing loans or that are doing realtors that are doing transactions. Let me go one step further. Let me find out who's funding those transactions so I know who my competition is. And if I see, okay, wow, there's another really good mortgage broker, another good lender, somebody, and they've got a good blend of business, and then they're being well serviced. Well, guess what? That's probably going to be an hour wasted because they're getting serviced by people that have your jam. But if you see somebody that's only using Bank of America or Citi or Chase or G-Rate or whoever it is, you're licking your chops because you're like, we're going to come in there and blow them off by quarter, half a point. I mean, some of those big guys don't even do FHA. And then we know that the other folks are selling a half iron rate. So I love the data. It's almost like having a data-based approach to your effort, right? So that every hour that you're spending doing it is you're getting the fullest impact. So I think that's a huge takeaway from what you're describing there, Josh. So, I
think it also helps to break it down into small chunks. You don't need 20 realtors. You need 3 to 4 good realtors, not great realtors. You don't want the guys, the teams that are doing 100 deals a year. You want the guys that are doing 40 deals a year, and you only need 3 or 4 of them. So if you go in with that mindset of, I don't need 20 realtors, I need 4 realtors that are doing 2 deals a month, that's 8 deals a month. And, maybe they do more some months, but if you can get 4 good agents that do 8, that do 2 deals, that you can get 2 deals a month out of, you're good. Yeah. You've got a career right now.
Yeah, I love that.
So, it's finding those few and recognizing you don't want 20 realtors. You want 3 or 4.
How much? I mean, I know we've talked a lot about realtors. We talked about past clients. Do you have any other referral buckets or sources? Like, do you get into the CPA game or the financial advisor game at all, or do you kind of stick into those other 2 areas?
I've worked it a little bit. I haven't really had direct success in working it. So I haven't gone down that path, or just haven't had a lot of success in it. In the refinance market, I got a lot of referrals from my CPA. Okay. In the purchase market, I don't seem to be getting the referrals from it.
Got it. Do you do and just have you got into HELOCs or any debt consol, or are you still just kind of mainly focusing on that purchase side?
I have avoided HELOCs, and I think I'm maybe going to start looking at them more.
Okay.
But that's the other thing. I always consult my clients. I don't just say, no, I don't do HELOCs. I say, I don't do HELOCs. However, here's the questions you want to ask. Here are 2 or 3 sources to go to for HELOCs. If you strike out at those guys, come back to me. I can help you.
Got it.
Even when somebody's using Builder, you want to say, here's what you want to ask your builder. Here's what you need to know. Here's how I'm being somebody that is a resource for you.
Yeah, you're consulting.
You're not using them.
That's right. And I think that's so huge, because that's a huge trust building methodology that you're describing there, right? That you, when you approach it that way and almost you're referring other people, that's a huge trust building mechanism, right? You're not selling yourself, you're actually educating on the process, as opposed to selling them on any one thing and giving them hey, here's the certain things you want to pay attention to through here. Here's why I think I'm the best option. But if you talk to this person, make sure you listen for these things. Yeah. That's awesome, dude. So we're coming up towards the end here, and are there, we've got a big chunk of people out there watching, and there's a lot of people that when this gets recorded that are going to be watching it in the future. If you were going to summarize into maybe 1 or 2 things again that you're hey guys, we're going into wintertime 2023, it's a grind, rates are high. What are those things you want to put a bow on for them before we sign off?
You just, again, look at the long game. Every deal you don't get, follow up with them. Make sure they closed okay. Make sure it was a smooth process. Ask them for a copy of their mortgage statement. If you can get that, you're that much farther ahead when it comes to getting that refinance. Have a folder, follow-up leads, that my refinance folder, and then put whatever you can put in there about that person. So those lost deals, it's the long game. You lost that deal. You didn't lose the next deal.
It sounds and I can tell you, when we save this podcast, do you know what the title's going to be?
Play the long game.
The long game, buddy. It is going to be the long game. I love that, but that's almost going to, I might have to put next to the ask for a referral Post-it note. I think I'm going to put the Post-it note, the long game, underneath the computer. So, all right, buddy. Yeah. Well, hey, man, we hit our 30-minute mark. So I want to thank you for taking your time out of your day, buddy, and sharing all of the best practices and all the stuff that you've kind of walked us through today. Appreciate you, dude, and everything you're doing as part of the Arbor Nation, man. And thanks again.
Happy to be here. I like it. I love it. Love you guys. Love the synergy and the support that everybody gives. I mean, it's a great company. And even though I'm alone here in Colorado, I still feel a community and connected. And that's great. I love that.
Awesome, brother.
That's a great
I love to hear that, man.
Yeah.
All right, Josh. Thanks, buddy.
All right, cool.